any meaning to it, nothing at all. It just wasn't my way of living. So we were moving on towards this period of time, and I started to notice that there was a star in the sky, and it was a star that was brighter than any star I've ever seen. It was sat next to Venus, sat next to the moon. What it was a comet named Atlas. Now this comet would change my entire life in some really bizarre ways, but it's brought me here today. So as I was approaching the lockdown period at the time, I was focused on Comet Atlas. It was a green hued comet. So of course they talk about this in the Bible. They talk about the wormwood, which is a green derivative from plant. So I was seeing it as a warning star, and I had all these things. Now at that time, I didn't realise that I was going through my own apocalypse in my own body. That was what it was. I was going through this spiritual thing that I'd never touched on in my entire life. So I had to start digging to find the answers. So I was focused on Comet Atlas anyway, and then I was starting to get a bit worried with all this thing coming around, this pandemic starting. I've got a daughter, so I was thinking I've got to protect my child one way or the other. I've got to find a way of doing it, not understanding what's going on like the rest of us. Nobody had a clue what was going on, why we were all being locked down. So for me, I was focused on this comet, thinking this has got to be something to do with it. It was coming closer and closer, and it was coming at these dates where we were starting to come into the lockdown time. So this pulsating in the middle of my head was starting to really throb, and I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was just researching, I was reading, I couldn't stop. I was addicted to it, and it's what brought me to this point now kind of thing. But leading up to the lockdown, we were locked down on March 22nd, so I was arrested on that date over this comet, and it was because my family and friends obviously started to think, this is not him, he doesn't act like this, doesn't come out with all this information, what's he talking about, why is he seeing all these numbers and see he's lost it. So they were just thinking he's going to hurt himself or hurt his family. So on March 22nd, it was my mother and my twin brother rang the police and had me arrested. Now on this date, on this exact date, as some of you might remember, 2020 was Mother's Day. So it was a very important day for me with Mother's Code, and now when I look back at it, it was a rebirth moment. It was Mother's Day 2020. But with Comet Atlas as well, it fragmented on the day I was arrested. So on the very date that I was arrested, the comet exploded. It took 6,000 years to get here. So one way or the other, I got that right. And I always say this to people now, I couldn't have got that right after 6,000 years, and this comet just suddenly fragments on the same day that I'm arrested. The world gets locked down. It doesn't happen. So that's what happened to Atlas. And I was age 33 at the time. That was the story that was playing out. Now Atlas is the name of the 33rd bone in your spine. So this is the spinal thing, the thing that's playing off with the energy rising. So I didn't really understand anything though. I didn't understand what any of this was. I didn't understand what the pulsating was that's going on in my head, which I still have now. It can get very intense depending on where they're going, what kind of energy lines I'm on. So that's where my journey started anyway. It was in 2020, and I started to realise that Da Vinci's coding was playing out, and I started to think, how can I just have these connections to Da Vinci? Why am I thinking Da Vinci all the time? Why am I looking into the Mona Lisa? It's not my life kind of thing. So in 2019, we had a fire, Notre Dame fire took place on Leonardo da Vinci's birthday. So now when I look back at this and I start to realise what it's all about, it really starts making sense. But one thing that did happen was the spire collapsed at 7:53 p.m. Mona's exact dimensions from her painting, 77 times 53. So for that Notre Dame fire to come down on Da Vinci's birthday, exactly the same. When I look back at it, I knew it was the start of it. It was the start of Da Vinci's coding. But because Da Vinci's coding is so deep, it took a long time to get to this point to even understand what it was. Because it is so cosmic, and it is all to do with creation and everything else. So of course with the Notre Dame fire, we also have the 51.84 degree coordinates at the beginning. Or we've got the 108, which is the number of the sun, distance to the sun and the moon. The Hindus do everything in numbers of 108, and the Jewish give gifts in numbers of 18 and things. This is why Jesus' gematria is 18 in Chaldean. So as I mentioned before, with the 99 feet and the 118 inches. So the fire started at 18:18 p.m. So of course we're going forward to the 2024 eclipse, which is the greatest eclipse times at 18:18 p.m. So then of course the Lebanon blast in 2020, then we had that as well, come August the 4th, and that took place at 18:18 p.m. It was all the same. So when I started to break those numbers down, what I realised is that upper section of the equinox numbers, 2592, were all coded within these numbers that were appearing. But again, it's the architecture of what's going on. So some people have a theory that the Templars are again reorganising the grid, that the Templars are back and they're doing this and doing that as they have done in the past. And I agree that they have done in the past. I think they definitely have. I think for new ages, new cycles, you need new buildings, you've got to have new tech, basically, and that's what these buildings are, the technology, ancient technology. They're just not powered anymore, they're not powering up. So when people are going there and they're feeling all this energy and everything else, don't actually, they're not, the structures don't function because it's an electrical, it's like a circuit board in a computer. If one component's missing, that computer's not going to work. So if we've got one component missing in these chapels and all these stone circles, it's not going to work. It's an electrical grid, it's a component. So then with the Wuhan, China, so it started, I went from Da Vinci's birthday to the 22nd of February, which is of course the 2/2/2020, it's the 2/2 order out of chaos. So this was, China is the chi, you've got the chi, it's about the energy, it's what it was. They started to harness on that energy and started to batter it. So again, the 44 is appearing, or we've got 314 days, which is pi. The Life of Pi was released, the book was released on 9/11/2001. That's when they released that. So the Life of Pi is stuck at sea for 227 days, that's an approximation of pi, 227. So pi, obviously, in its construct, along with phi and golden ratio and everything else, it's all there. It's all part of it. But the order out of chaos, that's just one of the other numbers that come in from the 777. So the 777 and 222 create that 999. But again, it's the order out of chaos. It's a cyclic thing. So people are often on my Facebook pages, they'll say, how can this all be? People are setting this all up. And I think, how could people possibly set all this up? Like with all this code and everything else. I understand with the architecture and everything else, but I do decodes for people personally and I see it playing out. And I just done one for Nicola, was the last one that I did. Now you can see in Nicola's numbers now, it's all playing out. Now I think it was it 6,660 days you and Neil met each other, something like that. The numbers between them are just perfect, and it's our architecture, it's our life path. So I decode these numbers for people personally and find these patterns, find these codes inside your life. So we go between dates, so it could be, say, from your birth to your marriage, or your birth to your children being born and things like this. You will see the pattern play out, and it plays out from your ancestors right the way through, a fractal expansion. So what you can find in these decodes is really amazing. It's incredible what you can figure. And that's, I started to decode my own life. That's how I started to work it out, was to look within kind of thing and look at my own. So yeah, so Lombardy was shut down then. That was for that March 22nd date. But it was the 22nd of February is when they first done the several towns, went into lockdown. And then of course the full lockdown come through then on the 22nd of March. So yeah, I need to stop covering things before I get to the actual slide, to be honest with you. So that's Lombardy, it's what it was. It was all to do with the Last Supper. So the Last Supper for me was very important, and it's because of the sun. So a lot of people say with the Last Supper, very common knowledge, that it's Jesus and the zodiacs. Jesus is the son of man, he's surrounded by his 12 zodiacs. And we see this play out all the time. You see it in King Arthur's story with Arthur and his 12 knights, and it's just all the same thing. It's all the 12 around the one, which is the 13, and the Rosicrucians say the same thing. It's all about the 12 around the one. So this is the measurements for the Earth and the Moon. 864,000 is the diameter, and it's 93 million miles away. Now this is why Jesus is said to have died on April 3rd, age 33 and 33 AD. It's the 93rd day of the year, giving you the coding of the sun. It's trying to show you it's the sun, it's the solfeggio, it's energy. This is where energy comes from. It's light, everything comes from the sun. So yeah, that's the basis of it anyway. That's what they're trying to show with the Last Supper. Now, as I said, we've got the blue and the red of Jesus and Mary. So in terms of the sun, that's the north and south pole. It flips every 11 years. So the last time it flipped was when they announced Decoded. That was the last time solar cycle 25 started. This is what it is. It's the poles flipping. So as I said, with my own apocalypse, that was my own poles flipping. Something happened within me that's kind of transformed my life and brought me to this point now. So just to view it as the right way up is what it should actually be. Got the sun and the zodiac obviously above the head. the real key with Da Vinci's work is this grid on the floor, 36 squares. So 36 squares are showing us 36 triangular number being 666. So we're showing us a magic square, and it's all produced around this. So it's the disc cycles, of course, this is what Arthur and his 12 Knights are all based on as well. This is why they created the Glastonbury Zodiac, is because it's all based on this, all playing out above our heads, and it's all creating these geometric patterns that are letting off these frequencies and harmonics that shape everything. The real basis of it is the magic square. So that's what Da Vinci's given us in the Last Supper. He's literally created the magic square on the ceiling. He's given us the magic square of the sun. Very clever way of him doing it. It's the numbers involved are 636, 111, 666. 111 is the Christ code that you would have seen me do before with the 666, 777, multiplying it. It creates the divine light. It is a light code. It's the Trinity. So of course, each celestial body has their own magic square as well. So that's what Da Vinci was showing us anyway. He is showing the Son of Man, but he takes it further. He proves it in his work. So the Last Supper is 880 centimeters by 460. It's the 846 to 64 diameter of the sun is what he's given us. So he's shown us exactly what it is. So the sun's got the diameter 880 centimeters equals the 288 number, as I mentioned with the Mona Lisa, Giza, Taj Mahal. Da Vinci's given it to us as well. But the reason he's doing this is because it all comes back around and swings around to the 432 number. 28.8 times 15 feet, and it gives us the radius of the sun. So he hasn't just coded the diameter of the sun, he's given us the radius as well. He's coded the sun and the magic square he's showing us. So of course they would not have wanted this information out back then. Would have been in a lot of trouble if Da Vinci's trying to tell people that Jesus is the sun, by the way. Stop worshipping all these churches and everything else, it's up there. So they didn't want that to come out. Da Vinci's coding goes very, very, very deep. For me to actually break all Da Vinci's coding over this, you'd be here all night, and I know you don't want to be doing that. So as I said before with the Platonic solids, this is how you can really get to see the construct being formed. Just with these simple ones, the tetrahedron, octahedron, hexahedron, icosahedron, dodecahedron. So obviously this is what Da Vinci's used, is this. He's used the 864 numbers. So another time that was used was with the Twin Tower. The first time the Twin Towers was struck was at 8:46 AM because it was the pillar of the sun. So of course the next one that was was hit by Flight 93. Jesus born 93, died 93, third day of the year. So when you look into the 9/11 Decoded on my page, on Facebook and things, it is going so deep, but it's all Da Vinci's coding, and it all runs through, and it's all connected. So these are the Platonic solids anyway. Yeah, so we have, as I was saying earlier, with the time, you've got 1,440 minutes in the day. That is our time construct. This is all part of the construct that's creating it. Yeah, so this is his main painting. So these are the dimensions that Da Vinci's actually used. Let's come back over this side a sec. So what he's given us here with this one, it's something known as the Heptaract. The Heptaract I'll have to leave to the end because it's the very end of this presentation. It's the most important thing. The hypercube is the most important thing that he's showing us. So obviously it translates, and then he's given us pi again as well. So he's shown us pi. He's given us that coding, which is really the sun disk. It's the circle. This is where these codings are coming in from, the most basic forms. He's given us the 5 to 8 inches, the 5 to 8 hertz, the solfeggio, which is also coded down at Rosslyn. And he's given us 9.6 yards. So the numbers that are really, really involved with Rosslyn Chapel, Rosicrucians, even at the Grand Lodge, is 96. There's 96 roses in the middle section of Rosslyn Chapel. So it's the 9669 of energy. The Grand Lodge of Scotland is over on 96 George Street. These numbers are very important. I went into the Grand Lodge in London and when I look at one of the inner temples, and there's a big mandala on the ceiling, it's 96 petals. It's all 96. So one of the events that you might remember on Leonardo da Vinci's birthday was Hillsborough disaster. So never ever forget the 96. Always remember the 96. Stay there. So this is Salvador Dali's version of the Last Supper, and he's gone and done exactly the same thing as Da Vinci has coded in his dimensions. He's done it in the painting. He's shown us it in the painting. So what Da Vinci's given us with the 8.8 and the 4.6 meters of the sun, the dimensions of the sun, he's given us the 6480 of the fifth element, which is the dodecahedron. So what Dali's done here, he's painted the Last Supper inside the dodecahedron. He's clever enough to have done it. So he's also got a Vesuvian Man with his 5 points outstretched with the pentagram. And then why he's done that is because each face side of the dodecahedron is made of pentagons. So of course, we know the Pentagon building in America. So these are the points of us going round on the 360 circle. And we eventually come back around, and it comes back around to the 288. But it's the spirit. So we've got the spirit, so we call it the dog wheel, and that'll be water, fire, earth, and air. It's all elemental stuff, and it's all part of the constructor, just trying to show us what we're constructed of and what everything is constructed of in this reality, basically. So the 288 it'll always appear in all my decodes, and it's because they've all coded for these same reasons. And it's linked to the ether, it's linked to the higher octave of 144 and the harmonics of light, the emanation of light. So this is the Vesuvian Man dimensions. So Da Vinci's gone and used again 9.6 and everything again in there, the 135 or the 153 of the Vesica, or the 129.6, all these numbers have travelled back around. So there's one number that Michael spoke to you about earlier on, and it was the cube. The cube finishes in 8883. It's a very, very important number, and it's coded in Washington, very deeply coded in Washington. So what Da Vinci's gone and done as well, he's gone and coded all this. So this diagram is actually from Robert Edward Grant's work. He's done some really good work on Da Vinci, working out the angles and degrees and everything else of what he's done. But what Da Vinci was really trying to do, and this is why I started to look at measurements and time, is because he was showing us to look at measurements and time. He was showing the sections of man. He's telling us to look at the dimensions of everything. Everything is coded in the dimensions. It's all numerical coding is there. So the 38.157 degrees, it's linked to the 13.8 of the orbital resonance for the Earth and Venus. It's the same thing that was going on at Giza. They've took into account for it as well. And so is Rosslyn Chapel. But so does every lady chapel. If you go into every single lady chapel, any church, any building, they've all been built to the pentagram. And it's because of Venus, it's because of the feminine. Or the rose, as it was, the rose was so sacred to the Templars, and it's because of this Mary Magdalene, etc., with the MM. Yeah, so he's shown us them angles. So Da Vinci's coded these exact angles. So you remember that comes from Giza. It's the exact coordinates of Glastonbury Tor. It's all the exact same thing, and Da Vinci's showing it. He's done it perfectly, absolutely perfectly. So this is just to show where all these geometric shapes fit inside the cube, and that's the key to it. The cube can hold it all. The cube, it's all contained within that. So these the pentagon faces of the dodecahedron that forms it basically. So this is what they were working on back then, and doing a lot more than we could ever imagine. I mean, I don't even know what makes me think of creating that one, to be honest with you, but that's where we are, we're inside that cubic system. So the next Last Supper picture, now this is my favourite one of them all. I love this picture from Andrea del Castano. It's just brilliant what he's done. So you'll see the dragon lines running across the top of the image here. So he's showing them perfectly. It's the same as the caduceus, he's showing it there. There's 33 loops, he's showing the 33 of the spine, he's showing the 33 bones in the spine of the energy. So you also have this in Edinburgh. If you go over to Edinburgh and you've got Jacob's Ladder, the steps. So Jacob's Ladder forms up, and you've got the pine cones at the top of the steps. It's the pineal, so it's your third eye. So that's your stairway to heaven as well. This is the stairway to heaven that they talk about. It's your heavens within kind of thing. So you can live in hell, you can be negative, and life can be really, really bad, or you can live in heaven. You can have that positive aspect and see things from in a positive way. One thing that's happening now on social media is everything's negative. And I've noticed this more and more over time. I'm just staying away from it now, really. Everything is negative, everything that's getting shared is negativity. So yeah, there's the Colton Hill, Jacob's Ladder in Edinburgh. This is what it's all about, really. It's reaching the light, seeing the light. It's coming to enlightenment and understanding. Knowledge, perception and understanding are the three key things. If you've got knowledge, then you can perceive it and then you can understand it. That's as simple as that. So this played a part in obviously my role when I was arrested at age 33 over Comet Atlas, which is the 33rd bone in your spine. All this stuff was really what I really wanted to understand, so just understand my own journey more than anything else, and take it from there and try and expand my own mindset and seek knowledge. So of course there's another one of the popular symbolism is the chessboard. So normally what we'll see is we'll see an 8x8 grid. So what Da Vinci's given is the 8x8. 8x8 equals 64. So he's showing that 864 of the sun, or the cube creates that cubic structure. And then you've got the black and the white of the chessboard, which is the male and female again, yin and yang. It's all there. So in religion, mythology, the 33 plays a part in all of it, and just have a look on this on your Wikipedia pages. And it's in all cultures and all religions and everything else. They've got the 33 tridashes and everything else in there. And so yeah, these numbers, they're definitely not just belonging to Freemasonry or anything else. It's a universal number. It's meant something. There would have been a time when religion didn't exist as the thing, and it would have been a universal spiritual culture. What people believe is animism or something like that. I probably haven't pronounced that right, but that's what it was. That's what they say our ancestors were all universal and they were all studying the same thing. Now, when I break everything down, the one thing that still seems universal, the one culture, is Hinduism. Da Vinci's work seems to take me to Hinduism in particular for some reason, and I think it was to do with the colour code and everything else, and the vibration of Aum, and it was all naturally trying to take me in that direction. But they weren't ignorant people, so they weren't going to go, oh, well, I'm not paying attention to Buddhists, I'm not paying attention to this or that. They were taking it all and trying to learn from everything that they could get their hands on, they would learn from, and that's what I do now. That's why I won't go against Freemasonry, and I won't go against this or that. All these people that are attacking it from us, I just won't go against them. So I'm trying to learn, and I need everything to get a bigger picture. I need all these little pieces of the puzzle to create that clear picture for myself. So a very interesting one is the House of the Temple. This is the ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. It's in Washington, DC. So they've got the 33 outer columns and they're all 33 feet high. But it's amazing architecture when you look at it. But they've got the numbers again, it's all coded. So as I said, with the Templar number, it's the 1119. So this is the same as King Arthur's story starts to flowing from Glastonbury in 1191. It all stems from these numbers. We've got one as 7735 within the coordinates. And we've got the 1733. Now what was really funny when we actually went to book this, there's one of the gentlemen who first spoke to me, it was Charles. Charles's phone number is Mona Lisa's exact dimension. Mona Lisa's exact code is Charles's phone number, which I've not spoken to him about yet. But it's like 07375 481. It's Mona's exact code, it's his phone number. So it's so strange when I first seen it. So this is the House of the Temple. So it's a special building, obviously. It's a very special one. It's been put there for a reason. But what I do like as well is the address, the 1733, is because the 137 number is the 33rd prime. So it's all wrapped up. And it's the same thing with the minarets of the Taj Mahal. They have the 33 prime number coded within all of that. So then, sticking with the 33, this is Palmer Cathedral in Mallorca. So as I said before, we've got these, we've got the clues with the Orca and the Orkneys and how the Norsemen were over there, which is what the Sinclairs are. That's the one thing to really understand the Sinclairs, that they were Norsemen, which means that when the Templars were founded, the Templars were founded by Norsemen. Now that's important to understand what they were doing, because they were founded by the Norsemen. That's a very key thing. So we have this take place every year at Palmer Cathedral. It's the Fiesta de Luz, or Lucifer. The Fiesta, Lucifer is the light, it's the same thing, it's the same words. So it creates, on the other end of the cathedral, the sun shines through and it creates this rose pattern, this rose window, comes underneath the other one on the opposite side, and it creates this. But what it does it, exactly on the 33rd day of the year is when it does it. So we've got the 44 metres and 33 from the Notre Dame and everything else. Again, it's all showing that construct. With this one, with the 121, this is another one. It's Jesus' numbers, Jesus' gematria. I just can't break that open for you right now. Or the 161, as I said, look for them in the mounds. 6111 is always a vortex point. It's caloric energy. So what they do is they have a 33-degree alignment. So at Palmer Cathedral, the sun aligns on the February 2nd to create this rose window, and it happens at 33 degrees altitude. So for the architects of this building to get that absolutely perfect on the 33rd day, 33rd degree altitude, at the exact 112 degree coordinates as well, it's just insane. And for it then, obviously, because these cycles repeat, it comes from the summer into the light and the dark, summer and the winter. It comes back around then again on for the November date, and it comes back around for the 33 degree alignment again.